When I start today, I want you to forget you are in the room with me. Instead, close your eyes and tap into your imagination. Are you there? Imagine a time where you were high up. Where? Anywhere. You could be anywhere, but you are away from the ground under you. Now take a minute to think, what if? Think of all the possible scenarios, even the crazy ones. And we're back. What did you see? I bet you weren't just standing there. I think your brain filled in a lot of the gaps, right? The floor could give way. I could fall off the edge. Did I imagine pushing someone? I bet every person in this room felt one of these scenarios. But hands up if one of them scared you or made you feel uncomfortable. Okay, a few of us. Well, you'll be pleased to know this is actually quite natural. It's called an intrusive thought. By definition, intrusive thoughts are unwanted ideas that come to the mind unexpectedly. An international study found that 94% of people get intrusive thoughts. They could be anything from pushing someone off a high place, driving your car into a wall, forgetting to turn the iron off. If you've had a thought like this, it probably made you feel uncomfortable, but you moved on after a couple of seconds. This is the narrative 98% of people face, but for the other 2%, the thought sticks. I'm in that 2%. Now, when I mention OCD, what do you think of? Maybe you thought of perfectionists, people who love everything color-coded and neat. Maybe you thought of germaphobes, people who wash their hands constantly. Maybe you thought of cleaning lovers, people who will hoover and mop like it's their whole personality. All these individuals may just seem quirky, but they're probably suffering with something called OCD. But what is OCD? OCD is a mental health condition that affects 75,000 people in the UK alone. That's around the same number as the population of Jersey. But what does it stand for? Well, if you were to Google search the definition of OCD, it only mentions obsessions, the O in OCD. What about the rest? So let's break it down. As we said, O stands for obsessions. Let's go back to what we imagined earlier, that random, intrusive thought that invaded our headspace in the visualization. This is a big part of OCD. 2% of people worldwide get OCD. An obsession is a train of intrusive thoughts which follow a common theme. For different people, the obsession can be different. Some, it's about symmetry and cleanliness. For others, it's about their identity and taboo topics. People with OCD never choose these obsessions, and in fact, they're a source of great pain. I've experienced all of these, and none of them were pleasant. We don't know why these intrusions occur exactly, but we know they're due to chemical imbalances and overactivity in the brain. They're nothing to do with personality. C is for compulsions. Compulsions are mental and physical actions a person does to try and gain temporary relief from these thoughts. Checking, avoiding, repeating, repeating, repeating. I've done them all. Because you would try anything to stop these thoughts, no matter how strange it looks to others. Now, OCD is a lived-in experience, so I'll tell you a couple stories so you can get a feel for it. When I was 12, I moved country for about 11 months, and I had an episode of OCD. Not that we knew at the time, though. My intrusive thoughts focused around the theme of violence. I was paranoid I would act out of character and hurt others, or myself, or my dog. My brain was filled with visuals that mirrored my every moment, but they were gruesome and painful to watch. I never wanted them to come true. So, I stopped using knives at mealtimes. I ripped paper instead of using scissors. I didn't trust that I wouldn't act on my thoughts. I was scared to close my eyes between the time I went to bed and the time I fell asleep, because I was always front row for a thriller starring me, a villain who seemed charming but really had bad intentions, or so I thought. I tried telling people in my life, but they all just told me I was sick of living. No one recognized this as OCD. I just hated these thoughts and wanted them to leave me alone. Another way OCD can manifest in me is through extreme attachment to objects. It would take me 2 or more hours to get rid of a shopping bag worth of waste. Again, quite different from the stereotype of OCD being cleanliness. My room looked like the inside of a general waste bin, and when I was told to get rid of my things, I would cry saying goodbye to every tissue or chocolate wrapper. I was worried because I touched an object, and that meant a micro part of me was on it. And that part of me could end up anywhere in the world, and I was less of a person every time a piece of me went. I was driven by grief, and the idea of letting go of anything felt like I was letting go forever. This is how maddening it feels when OCD takes over. Your imagination is hijacked and runs wild with possibilities. And before you know it, it's all you are, a shell of a person controlled by OCD. One day, I had another episode like this, but this one led to change, a good change. A change that changed my whole perception of OCD. What was it? Getting the help I needed. 7 in 10 people with OCD who get the standard treatment feel significant change in how well they manage their symptoms. When my symptoms were managed effectively long-term, I started a healing process. I went soul-searching for my personality again, one that was stripped of me because of my condition. While treatment, which included talking therapies and medication, really helped me function in daily life again. In fact, it helped me with so many aspects of my life. One thing it couldn't help me with, though, was finding myself again, finding who I was. Which leads me to my next point. While reflecting on the dark side of OCD is very, very important, I also started to realize during healing that OCD actually could include some benefits. So here are some skills I discovered from OCD. Number 1, creativity. Many studies actually suggest that people with OCD are more creative than the average person. Why? Because OCD brains never stop creating possibilities. And when these ideas are spewing out at 100 miles per hour, learning to harness them and use them to achieve your goals really could help you in life. Number 2, problem-solving skills. Constantly wrestling with my complex, intrusive thoughts actually, unintentionally, made me a better problem solver. I saw the risks and the patterns in these situations. Now I'm more confident when solving issues, which in turn made me more optimistic. I believe there's always a solution to every problem. Number 3, empathy. A lot of the time in life, things are out of our control. I get it. OCD is not something in my control. I tend not to judge others much anymore because I know that how you look on the outside may really be hiding the challenges you're facing inside. Number 4, a stronger sense of identity. This irony particularly strikes me because OCD tries to convince you of a different version of yourself, a person you never wanted to be. Finally realizing those versions don't match who you are boosts the clarity in trying to find your own identity. All these traits were once used against me. I unintentionally used them to fuel my OCD. But by healing and seeing my brain without the control of OCD, those skills I built, I used to build myself back up. I used them to take back the imagination it once took from me. So next time you imagine a person with OCD, will you imagine the germaphobe, the perfectionist, a cleaning lover, or will you imagine a person who overcame their own mind? Thank you.